Alright, this is part 2, a continuation of part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, then go to my channel, hhoball, and look for part 1. Alright, last video we went over my 4 goals that I'm trying to achieve in my hydroxy experiments, and we left off at number 4, electricity, so let's take a look at that. Alright, so my main goal is to have everybody make their own electricity at home with their own hydroxy electric generators, but for those who want to stay on the grid, let's take a look at how electricity is made on the grid. So most of the electricity we get off the grid comes from spinning steam turbines. Now these giant spinning steam turbines in turn will turn an electric generator, and that creates electricity for the grid. And all the controversy comes from what type of heat source you're using to heat the water to make the steam to turn the turbine. And the dirtiest way, as you see, is using coal. Getting rid of this is a major concern to anybody that cares about the planet. So as you can see here, the answer is just to supply a different heat source that's clean. All we want to do is make that flame come from something else. And obviously a way long-term goal would be to be able to do hydroxy on a large scale like that. And I will show you something at the end of this video that makes this seem possible. Now today we do use a clean way to make heat to turn a turbine to make electricity, and that's nuclear power. The problem with nuclear power is we still haven't figured out what to do with the nuclear waste. And another huge problem with nuclear power is it takes years to build a nuclear power plant. So like I said, if we can ever find a way to get hydroxy on a large scale, we can get rid of this problem of coal-fired power plants and keep all the same machinery in place, just change the heat source. So now if we want to create electricity in the home, instead of gigantic turbines like this, we want to go and use something more practical, a smaller steam turbine, but still have the same idea. Heating water to turn a steam turbine, to turn a generator to make electricity. But now let's look at some other generators we could use with hydroxy gas. Here's an example of a company that has found a way to use steam to turn a Tesla turbine. Tesla turbines have turbine blades that are flat. And it looks like this. And it's perfectly made for utilizing compressed air or steam, and I'm definitely going to build one and try and see what we can do with some controlled mini explosions with hydroxy. Or simply heat up water and use steam to run the turbine that way. And here's another way to spin a wheel. Those of you who aren't familiar with this is a Stirling engine, and it turns utilizing heat. And we know that even the smallest little mini torch with hydroxy fuel can throw a great amount of heat out, and that's something I really want to experiment with also. Now what you're looking at here is really neat. This is called a thermal electric module. This is a small one, but the way it works is if you apply electricity to it, one side gets cold, the other side gets hot. And the thing that makes a thermal electric module interesting is that if you cool that same side and add heat to the side that would normally get hot, you can actually produce electricity instead of using electricity to make the temperature. You use the temperature to make electricity. Now they make much larger ones than what you saw here, and what I'd like to do with them is build them into the walls of the homes up north here in Canada, because for a good chunk of the year it's pretty cold out, and that keeps the cool side cool. And on the inside, if you have a hydroxy heater, you can funnel most of that heat to pass by those thermoelectric modules and produce probably a good amount of electricity. Anyway, it'd be a neat experiment. Now if you're looking to buy a thermoelectric module, they can be pretty expensive, but you'll find them in a lot of fridges and water coolers actually. If you ever come across anything that has a refrigeration unit and it doesn't have a compressor with refrigerant lines, and it's all electronics, then I guarantee you somewhere in there is a thermoelectric module, and if you find them on the side of the road, which there's tons of them, you can strip those out for free. Now another way to make electricity from hydrogen is a hydrogen fuel cell. So we could take the hydroxy gas, take out all the oxygen, you're left with hydrogen, you run that through a hydrogen fuel cell and create electricity. Problem is, they're extremely expensive to make for a very small amount of electricity, so the only way I'll ever experiment with one of these is if somehow it becomes affordable to make. Now there's another way that we are hoping we can make electricity from hydroxy gas, and if anybody knows who Stan Myers is, Stan Myers in his presentation spoke of a patent that he had on some type of electron grabber that would channel free electrons from the gas into a usable circuit. And he had a patent on this. If you go to my channel, hhoball, and look in the favorite videos, you'll see the first of 6 videos of his where he has a presentation in Switzerland, I believe, and he gives tons of information throughout that. It's worth watching. But we have all found the same thing. If you take your meter, put it on the torch, and then put your other lead on a piece of stainless steel. As you put the ignited gas towards that stainless steel, you're going to get a voltage reading. So there's many ways we can make electricity from using the heat that hydroxy gas provides, and possibly even using free electrons that are within the gas itself. So now some of you might be saying, what about vehicles? What about the internal combustion engine? What about getting rid of gasoline? Isn't that one of your goals? And yes, it is one of my goals, and I'll answer that in two parts. First of all, the internal combustion engine is something that I am not a master at all. Thank God there's guys like D3, Zero, Smack, higher powered H2O. These guys really understand the engine a lot better than I do and are much more equipped to do those type of experiments, so they will come up with the answers for us, I guarantee you. Now, the second part of what I want to say is, in creating electricity, I am getting rid of gasoline, because an electric motor is 90% efficient, and that, no matter what anybody wants to argue, the electric car is the car of the future by far. It's just a bunch of stubborn people taking a long time for it to come out right now. If the EV1 that was made by GM would have been allowed to come out and stay out, we all would be about 50% of the population, I'm sure, would at least have electric cars right now. So in my vision, all of our electric cars will either have an onboard generator powered by hydroxy, or when you come home, you park your car and plug into your hydroxy electric generator and recharge your vehicle. Now, I do want to say I am interested in one thing of the internal combustion engine. When we add our hydroxy boosters to gasoline engines, I am very curious to know definitively if the emissions go down. I've seen evidence that they do. I want to try it for myself, but I'd like to try it on smaller engines that don't have these stupid map sensors and things. Things like ATVs, lawnmowers, Sea-Doos, motorcycles, all these toys that we like to use. We can just run hydroxy through there and see what the emissions are, and see if the emissions actually go down. And if it works in a small engine, then it'll get people's attention for the larger ones. Now, I told you I was going to show you something interesting at the end of this video, and this is for all the people that are skeptical of hydroxy gas being an efficient fuel source for us. Now, as most of us know, Stan Myers was able to create a resonance circuit, and in doing so he was able to use just water without electrolyte in it, and very low amperage, very low current. Well, I'd like to introduce you to a company that is in Canada. It's about 3 hours away from where I live. It's called Exogen. And apparently there's some relation to Stan Myers, and if you go to their website, exogen.ca, you are going to see a statement in there saying how they are able to create hydrogen-oxygen gas using very low current compared to standard electrolysis. And anybody who knows what that means knows that they're probably using the resonance circuit. Now, the interesting thing is this company is treating wastewater in a city called Orangeville. They have treated entire beds of water and completely cleaned the water doing this, and at the same time, if you look at their diagrams and their patented system, while they treat the wastewater, they are able to make electricity and heat. Isn't that amazing? Our government is actually paying attention to this company, and they're watching them for 1 year, and if they continue to do what they're doing now, our government is actually going to back them. And this is just stainless steel plates, electrolysis, but with a resonance circuit. And this is why all of us are going to be able to use this in our homes, because this is something that is real. It is something that's being used now, no matter how many people want to spread out calculations showing this and that. It works. It's treated entire beds of water already in our country, and it's going to continue to do so. Now, we could sit around and wait for big business just to hand us the technology, but I have a feeling we're going to look like this if that's the course of action we take. We have to get off our ass and take control and take the power for ourselves. If you're not an experimenter, then at least pay attention to all the people who are experimenting, and when we do find the answers, implement them immediately, and let's get all of these fossil fuels out of our society for good. Let's take control of our utility bills. If you are an experimenter, then stay motivated. Don't lose track of your goals. We have to get this done. We'll never do it just sitting around. Everybody's got to focus together. Share your information. Don't be greedy. We're all going to make money. We're all going to create a whole new service industry. But the goal is, let's get rid of fossil fuels for good. As experimenters, we have to stay motivated, and most of all, you got to stay open-minded and creative. Maybe your idea of a steam turbine looks more like this. Who knows? We all have to remember one thing. No big business is ever going to hand us something that just helps us and not them. They're out to make money. We have to be out for ourselves also. So let's band together, let's do this, and let's change the future. No more fossil fuels.